No!
Hey, everybody, welcome to Cake Burger. I'm Steve.
Mike, I always do this. It's a react. I gotta stop. I gotta like tie my hands together.
I used to say, hey, everybody. Well, you know, I'm glad it's you, Mike, because when I was sending the Zoom invite, I almost sent it to my boss, Mike. That would have been a little awkward. Like, hey, man, you want to talk about comics?
Fine.
So anyway, this week it is almost we're on the cusp of September. We're going to talk about the news from the past week and over the weekend. We have a couple of stories. We're going to touch upon the big one, which I know a lot of people are kind of talking about, which is the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman. I think we should maybe we'll probably kind of lead off with that, I guess, because I mean, get it out. I mean, not to get it out of the way, but really, it's something I don't really want to dwell on too much. I don't want to talk about too much, only because, first of all, I don't really feel comfortable adding someone's death to my content, pretty much, and second, I don't really. I mean, what can I say that hasn't been said about the guy? I don't really know him. I don't really know him. And obviously, it didn't seem like really anybody knew him that well. They probably had deep connections with him, but didn't know everything about him. I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's a sensitive subject, and like you know, it's kind of walking on eggshells, and I don't really feel comfortable talking about that much. But it's definitely something we should be talking about because it's in our wheelhouse about comics, about movies. So let's do it, Mike. I'll get some little tongue-tied. Chadwick Boseman, I found out Saturday morning that he passed away after a 6-year fight with colon cancer. Very, very sad, very, very unexpected. I actually didn't know. My wife woke up next to me, and she's the one who told me. And at first I thought she said Black Panther, and I was like, I thought she was talking something anybody besides Chadwick Boseman, pretty much is what was going through my head. But it was pretty sad. My son actually told me, he goes, a lot of celebrity deaths happened within my lifetime. He goes, this one really, really hit me hard. Mike, what are your thoughts on it?
I'm the same way. Like I normally don't feel sad when a celebrity dies. You know, he was still very young. He did a lot for his community. He did a lot of great things. He set a great example as the Black Panther. And you know, it's not so much that I can relate to him as a character, but at the same time, he did a lot of great things, and I agree with you, son. Like I haven't felt this impacted by someone passing away, a celebrity that I don't know. We're not friends, you know. We didn't hang out or play video games or do whatever together. You know, I've only felt that way about a few celebrities. Don't laugh at me, guys, but Paul Walker. I mean, generally, he was not a scumbag. You know, he was actually a pretty good guy. He did a lot.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Things for charity. And Stan Lee. Stan Lee was another one that really affected me when he passed away. And it's just sad that, you know, when he was going through this, he kept it to himself, and he was still doing, you know, visiting these
action movies and like, you know.
Yeah, and he was still visiting like the Make-A-Wish type of things where kids were dying of cancer, and you know that stuff had to really hit home for him because he was dealing with it, and he kept it to himself. And so recently we saw him with pictures of him really skinny, really, you know, sickly looking, and we didn't know he might have been doing this for a movie. Because look at Christian Bale. He goes from The Machinist to Batman to Dick Cheney, and you know he had stuff in between, obviously, but like, you know, so we didn't think anything of it. And, you know, I kind of feel bad. And again, I don't know why I do, but he's such a phenomenal actor and such a phenomenal human being that it really did affect me. I was kind of like sad all weekend over it.
He had such, you know, compassion and grace to him as a person, like, and also with the swagger he had. Like, he was a very, very likable guy. It was almost like the person I can kind of compare him to a little bit as far as how I perceived him anyway. As far as acting went in movies, when it was kind of like Keanu Reeves, where it was like the acting just kind of paid the bills, but he was more of like a, you know, humanitarian and more of like, you know, a person like, you know, who really kind of like, you know, like really appreciated life. And I again, I've been seeing so many videos of him lately, and like, you know, it's really sad. It's really sad. Black Panther was a movie, and I'm not gonna all of a sudden pretend that, like, you know, like a lot of people, like, you know, I'm not gonna pretend that it's Black Panther was my favorite movies of all time. I enjoyed it, and it's nothing against, like, the, you know, the actors, the crew, or like that. It was just basically at that point, I think Marvel had a formula to making movies, so to me, it didn't really stand out. But for me, what really matters to me the most is not so much the movie, but how it affected other people. That's a lot of things right now. How he affected by playing that role and being in that movie, how it affected a lot of, like, you know, young black children, a lot black people in general, and that matters to me. I mean, the movie could turn out however it wanted to, but the effect that it had on a huge portion of people is really just breathtaking and really overwhelming, and really he's one of those guys who've actually, a lot of actors think they're making a difference by being an actor, like, you know, but they really created something special with that movie, and his legacy is really affected, you know, society in a positive way and culture in a positive way.
And we've had African American superheroes before this, you know, but none that made such an impact like he did with Black Panther.
Yeah,
I mean, he's no Meteor Man. I had to throw a little joke in there, but, you know, he plays that Black Panther character that he brought himself into, and, you know, made that role inspirational, because he kind of brought some of his real life experiences to that role.
Yeah, it was a great collaboration between him and director Brian Coogler. And it just sucks. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about, like, you know, what, you know, Black Panther going forward. That's like the least important thing. The most important thing is, like, you know, him is respecting his family, and also, like, you know, just, like, you know, being respectful of, like, you know, a man who passed away. But it's just like there's not a lot of, like, as far as, like, huge positive, like, you know, black comic characters, there's not really many to pick from. I mean, there are some. There's a Luke Cages, and there's, like, you know, others, but it's like you only had one Black Panther, and it kind of sucks that, you know, I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do going forward. My opinion is that they should just put a pin in Black Panther 2 and not, like, you know, go forward with anything right now. But it just sucks because, I mean, like, you know, it was such a great, it was such, like, a road going forward that now, like, it's kind of rocky roads right now, and that's not important compared to, like, you know, the passing of Chadwick Boseman. But it's just, like, you know, it's I don't know, it's frustrating. It's sad, is what it is. You know what I mean? And other than that, I don't really have much more to add about. I mean, like, you know, it's really sad, and we all, like, you know, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. One positive, I did tweet out one time that I was very sad to hear about it, but I was also not a silver lining, but it was also nice to hear that he was at home, in his home, with his family as he passed away. And that's I mean, I don't know, to take what you want out of that statement, but I think a little comforting to know that. And other than that, I don't really have much more to add. I don't know if you have anything more to add, Mike. Or...
No, it's just like I said, I've never really, only a few celebrity deaths that really impacted me, you know, and you know, he's in a better place now. He's you know, he's not suffering anymore, so that's something that as a kind of positive thing. And he's walking side by side with Stan the Man Lee, you know, again, you know,
in good company, you know.
You know, and, you know, I hope that, you know, his everlasting inspiration that he made with all of his movies he's done, you know, and especially Black Panther, because, you know, people can relate to that character, and, you know, he's such an inspiration, that I hope that that's his legacy moving forward. And I hope that, you know, I don't think Marvel will take advantage of it, but I hope just, you know, guys, don't worry about Black Panther 2 right now. You know, if it happens, it happens. You know, I mean,
I'm glad they everybody involved in Black Panther, especially Chadwick Boseman, get to create and not tarnish a legacy, and it'll be remembered that way. And that's about it, really.
And I hope he's remembered for all the things he's done, all the charitable events he's done, the activism.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, and, you know, it just I can't say anything bad about him. I just, you know, you know, such a great human being, you know, and that's fair. in today's society, as we all know. So, but yeah, I just like I was shocked that it happened. I couldn't believe that it happened, and I'm I'm a little bummed that it happened because he's such a great guy. But yeah, I think that's all I got.
Enough said. So yeah, that's all we're gonna say about Chadwick Boseman's passing. It's impossible to segue from this, but we're gonna try. So it's a few lighthearts, some puff pieces, I guess. There's a couple in there. The one I might get into, I have 5. 4 I'm definitely want to get into because I have Mike that has no idea what these stories are. I'm interested to get his reaction.
Which one? Come on, anything big comic book news? All of them, the passing of Chadwick.
I had to search for these because I was desperately looking for something to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. One of them, I guess, we'll start with this. All right, we'll talk about the least comic book newsy one. Rocky 4 is getting a director's cut from Sly Stallone. He is saying, though, that he is not putting in the robot, though. That's getting cut from the movie.
You need that in there. Hey, here you go, Paulie. Here's your beer.
Yeah. Someone tweeted at him and said, I can't wait to see that robot.
We're talking about the movie that ended the Cold War, right?
Yes. He's doing a director's cut of that.
It's me otherwise. That Rocky ended the Cold War.
Yeah, that's fact. It's documented in his on film. Right?
And people are gonna say, "Well, Mike, that came out after the wall fall." Blah blah blah. Listen, it was a documentary. It really happened. The movie came out after. Sorry, there's no argument here.
Rocky 4 is my favorite Rocky movie.
Oh yeah, it's my best one.
How do you feel about the robot being cut? You think Sly Stallone when someone tweeted at him saying, "I can't wait for the robot," he said, "I don't like the robot anymore." And so I don't know if that means definitely he's gonna cut the robot, but it kind of indicates that the robot scenes will be cut.
I mean, he had to cut out scenes of his late son. That was in it. And,
yeah.
Getting Polly a bear and making it like his robot wife. Pretty funny. I mean, not that I'm saying that's what wife should be, but if you knew Polly and watching this movie, of a captain character he was.
I would like it better if they pulled a George Lucas and CGI'd a better rendered robot. It was just like you say the scene with the robot was coming and it was coming, but it just ended up being this big James Cameron rendered android mech instead of that. I think that'd be kind of funny. Using today's technology and replacing the robot.
Well, maybe he's re-releasing it because I know that after Creed 2 was finished, he wanted to do another Rocky movie where it was primarily based on him, where he wouldn't be boxing. It'd be, I heard the script, what he wanted to do was that, he was going to be up in Canada where the Creed 2 movie ended, and then he was going to be training somebody new.
I get.
And then I'm like, well, is he going to not train Creed anymore? Is he going to be in Creed 3? Because it kind of seemed like they were segueing with Creed 3 to be its own franchise now for Rocky.
I think now we can kind of count on Creed 3, the trainee not training with the robot this time. So there's a small story I found on the internet.
That makes me excited if that happens because I love the Rocky movies and Rocky 4 is by far my favorite Rocky movie.
Are you indifferent though to the robot, or you don't really care, or whatever?
I really don't care, but why it needs to be there. It's it's part of the whole movie.
Okay.
God damn it.
So that's one. That one. The other one. This one right here. I don't know if you play Fortnite at all.
Not really, but I heard that I think Silver Surfer is going to be out there. I think they made some Batman Joker characters going to be in it. That's
coming out in October or November, I think. The Batman package. Right now, they just.
I will get into Fortnite for Friday Night Game Night if I have to.
Well, Marvel just released a package for season. I think it's season 4. I think my sons know they both on vacation. They uploaded this where you have where you have Thor, Wolverine, Storm, She-Hulk, and there's somebody else I'm not thinking of right now.
Captain America too, with the shield and the Thor's hammer, right?
He was in there. He's not in there anymore though. Now Silver Surfer's in there.
Are they in there forever? Are they in there for forever?
This is the season 4 pack right now, and it's called Fortnite Nexus and Galactus. And it's funny because actually the Galactus and the Thor from Donny Cates' Thor run right now that's going on. There's actually, before this update happened, there was a little comic inside there. If you've been reading Donny Cates' Thor, there's where Thor basically becomes Galactus' herald for a time, where Galactus thinks he's his herald. And they had this little montage of him going to different worlds, something like that. But apparently, off panel, there was this one comic that Donny Cates and the artist drew where they actually go to the Fortnite world. And that's where this whole thing takes place, pretty much. Marvel just announced that this whole Nexus War is canon. That is part of the Marvel universe right now.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it's one thing to have a DLC pack, but now they're making it so this is an actual Marvel story.
Well, I kind of wanted to get into Fortnite, but at the same time, I don't, because I'd get completely infuriated when somebody's building a freaking box around me and I can't get out, and then they come out and shoot me. Yeah. I always thought Fortnite was for people who suck at shooting games.
I want to get into it. I feel like sometimes if I didn't get into it already, I've already missed the party. Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I definitely. I mean, my son said those parts where you can actually go to Gotham City at some points. I seen the Thanos part. I was there when J.J. Abrams did that whole announcement on Fortnite for Rise of Skywalker. That was pretty cool. And honestly, I'm a big fan of the comic industries and movie industries, kind of like making announcements through video games and stuff like that. Yeah. That's kind of cool. I'm happy to see She-Hulk get some love. I'm happy to see Wolverine. There's a lot of characters I think to see in Fortnite. My kids love it, and I think it's definitely a good way to get exposure. I think the fact of making it canon, but then again, I mean, with Marvel and DC nowadays, I mean, what's not canon? They kind of play fast and loose with a lot of their continuity. So I don't really think it matters. It's kind of like a throwaway press piece, I think, kind of a little bit.
The only matter of time before Spider-Man and Luke Skywalker, cross paths.
I think that's going to be their $1 million comic. C.B. Wolski said he has an idea for $1 million comic. I think that's what it's going to be. Star Wars can integrate into the Marvel universe, which to me sounds like the most creative, bankrupt idea. Yeah. You already have your whole galactic, cosmic universe Marvel. You don't need to add Star Wars.
I was completely against, the hell's it called? Brain fart. All of a sudden, when DC got the Watchmen.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the Watchmen crossover with DC, and they did. I don't mind the crossover between Justice League and He-Man.
Yeah, it's fun. And the thing about, if I can go a quick tangent real quick, the thing that's stupid about the whole Watchmen being part of the DC Universe thing, all those characters are based on, like Rorschach, Owlman. They're all based on Charlton characters that DC now owns, Captain Atom, the Blue Beetle, Questions. I don't know why they just don't use those characters instead, because that's all that Alan Moore did. He just took those characters and just put different costumes, different names on them.
Yeah. So, and I don't know. I mean, the only good thing about that is that it made a good example to erase the New 52 garbage stink on
I guess so. I mean, did it though? Who knows? Another gem I'm going to throw you away, Mike. Tim Drake is now Robin again. Not be called Drake anymore. It's the same. Yeah, I mean, it kind of happened to say. I don't know if it was planned this way.
But that was in the Batman book, right?
Well, in the Young Justice book, I believe. In Batman, Damian has now quit being Robin. He tore off his R. So he's sick of living in Batman's shadow. Sick of Robin, and Batman goes, Robin. He goes, not anymore, and did a kind of a Spider-Man no more type of walk away thing. So yeah, I know you're a huge Tim Drake fan. And
I've loved Tim Drake since he first came out.
Yep.
I mean, my experience with Tim Drake was his solo book, and then I went back and got the books when he was in Batman and Detective and all that.
Yep.
And now his first appearance. But
the Chuck Dixon, Tom Grumont books, those.
Now the thing of beauty. Yeah. And I guys, before New 52, my favorite book. That was my favorite era of DC, but my favorite book was Red Robin, and right before that when he was just regular Robin. And the New 52 completely butchered him.
Amongst other things.
Yeah, exactly. And he was one of the characters that didn't need to be fixed, along with Superman. But that's that's another tangent I can go on myself. But and then I that Detective Comics run where he got kidnapped by
Mr. Oz, who ended up being Jor-El.
And they kind of were breathing more air into Tim Drake that I love. And then when Bennett's announced Young Justice, I'm like, he's not gonna respect continuity because he can't respect continuity in his own Miles Morales book when he was doing it. especially when Miles Morales came to the 616. That's another story for another day. And the fact that I'm like, he's gonna just shit all over continuity, and he actually he did a good job of Young Justice until he named him Drake, and then I'm like, okay.
Stupid costume, you know. It's like,
but then, I think something happened where in that book where off screen Batman's talking to him, and he's probably saying, "That's the dumbest fucking thing you ever came to come up with." Part of my language, because it made me really upset when they changed the Drake. And if you guys remember from when I reviewed Nightwing, at the end of that book, when the Dick Grayson or whoever the hell he is now comes and gets all the Robins together, it's Red Hood, and then Tim Drake in his Robin costume, but Red Hood calls him Drake, and then he calls him by Jason Todd, and then he says, when I'm in costume, call me by Red Hood. So it's like, is he calling him Drake? Is that his new name? But still, I'm glad to see him back in his Robin costume.
Yeah. I knew you'd like that. I saw that, and I'm like, "Ooh, Mike's gonna like this."
You guys can tell I'm very passionate about Tim Drake. He's my favorite Robin next to Dick Grayson.
Hey, say no. You're preaching to the choir, buddy.
I got his poster on my door up there, the big long door poster.
I'm more of a Dick Grayson fan, but I'm kind of playing the wait. I do not agree with going on with him for the past several years, but I'm kind of playing the waiting game on him, and hopefully now that the Dio's gone, you'll see a little more love for Dick Grayson, not Rick Grayson, Dick Grayson.
And now he's in control and brainwashed by the Joker too. So add that to the.
Yeah, well, now they're trying to make that because he's basically the only Robin who hasn't had this like connection to like the Joker, which they're trying to kind of create with that whole storyline. I think that's kind of the cool thing with Dick Grayson is that to him the Joker is just another bad guy. He's just another one of his bosses, like bad guys. I kind of like that how like a lot of people get traumatized. Like Jason Todd obviously has history background. They kind of get like it's a deer in the headlights, basically, the Joker. For him, he's just like, he looks in the eyes of the devil and doesn't blink. He's like, you're just another guy who, like, I punch in the face, pretty much. And I kind of like that about Dick Grayson. The other thing, which, Mike, I thought you find interesting, there was recently I think his name was, I had his name, Jonathan Ross was doing a documentary with Steve Ditko of the BBC. And Steve Ditko was showing a lot of his work to him. And apparently Spider-Man was originally supposed to be purple and orange, not blue and red.
Oh, the costume. Okay.
The costume, yeah. And so they were asking him, like, oh.
Purple and red.
What's that?
I thought he said they were going to make him out to originally be an alien. I'm like, ugh.
Nope, his costume was to be purple and orange. He asked him if that was like a mistake of the printer. He goes, no, he was supposed to be purple and orange. He goes, didn't want him because when they first showed me the scheme after he sent it to the printer, they thought that they had made a mistake initially, so they changed it to red and blue. He said the reason why he didn't like it red and blue is because he reminded him too much of Superman, and he wanted to be like very anti-Superman. Yeah. And he goes, but he told him, and he actually gave the guy the comic too. I guess I don't know how old he was at that point, but he's like, this is worth a lot of money. So originally Spider-Man was supposed to actually be purple and orange, which I have some fond memories of a few He-Man action figures that had that color scheme back in the 90s. I don't know how Spider-Man. I actually have a thumbnail I'm going to put up on this in this video of the original cover. How do you feel about that? Would you like to be a purple and orange Spider-Man? Would you still connect it with Spider-Man if he had that costume color?
So for me, Spider-Man goes real deep for me. So I think I would have still liked the character if he had the costume. So for me, it's not the costume, unless it's Scarlet Spider's costume. But for me, it was a much deeper connection with my love and how I can relate to Spider-Man. So I still would have read it nonetheless.
It's funny because a lot of you realize back in the day with Wizard, and you see a lot of these like CBR articles. And they always say the best superhero costume of all time is Spider-Man's costume. It's always number one, best costume of all time. And I wonder if that would still be true if it would have lasted that long. Because Hulk originally he was gray when he first debuted and whatnot. I wonder if he would have stayed that color for the long term if they would have changed it.
I think they would have changed it because even with the Hulk, he was originally gray in the beginning. And now it's another coloring printer issue. And then I think 4 issues later, he was green. So I don't think it would have stayed that color for very long. I think it would have probably originally went back to red and blue or something else entirely. Because when you think about it, how do you come up with red and blue that would be like a spider-esque color?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
See, that's the thing too. Like they had in the movie, the Sam Raimi movie, they had to actually make the spider red and blue, and for him to kind of get the inspiration for that. I never seen a red and blue spider in my travels, really.
I mean, there's the red technically on the Black Widow, but
See, I always liked red and black. Eric Larson did that for a while in his run. Alex Ross actually.
Another Mike McCone, I think, might have done red and black every once in a while. I think. Well, that might have been when there was a shadow over Spider-Man, but
I'm fine with orange. I would have taken orange and black, or even orange and blue. Purple, I don't know. It kind of seemed like
I think purple is definitely far-fetched.
Well, purple is a little overplayed. I think like if you look at all the early comics, like it's like enough of the purple. You have like Green Goblin was green and purple, Mysterio, all these guys. Like they're all like, and like even like a lot of other villains, like enough of the purple. So those were basically those were my stories. I knew I knew you'd have some thoughts on pretty much. Again, the kind of puff pieces. It looks like we have a little time left. I haven't seen that countdown show up yet.
Not running yet. Yeah.
One I was gonna bring up. Have you been listening to Rob Liefeld's podcast at all? Robservations?
No, not really. No.
It's surprisingly excellent. It's very unpolished, very you can tell he's just like I want to do a podcast and just hit record and then like upload it on Spotify. But he does this four-part episode thing on Heroes Reborn that he just he's been really focusing on the Silver Age and the Bronze Age, that kind of thing, but now he kind of like is delved into Heroes Reborn, and holy shit, what a Game of Thrones type. It basically made it seem like Heroes Reborn wasn't so much a revamp for the characters, like how we were led to believe how it was when it was coming out in real time. It was basically a power play for all these like for Jim Lee to take over Marvel Comics, and then all these millionaires, a lot of people say it wasn't a success, and then you look at the numbers, it was a success. They sold quadruple the amount of units for these characters. Again, a lot of it is from Rob Liefeld's like point of view and stuff like that. But I mean, he does show a lot of the data to back it up. And it basically made it seem like
money back then. It went from those books barely selling anything to that's when I started really getting into comic books, and obviously I was big into Spider-Man, but even I knew about Heroes Reborn back then.
He showed the comparison between his Captain America and the Captain America beforehand, where it was selling. I think Captain America was selling something like 20,000, like not even 20,000 copies, like below 20,000 copies a unit. And then when he came on, it was selling like over 300,000 a unit. And so a lot of people say and he read the letter from Marvel saying we're canceling it because it didn't meet expectations, because they thought they were going to sell millions of copies of these books, which was impossible. At that point. And so the big thing, I've heard the story of Jim Lee possibly taking over Marvel during that time before, from Jim Lee himself when he did interviews. But it basically made it seem like the person who sabotaged that deal was Bill Jemas.
Got a lot of hate. I remember there was that Marvel Spider-Man X series where I said Jim, good riddance to James. What was his name again? James?
Bill Jemas?
Jemas, yeah. Something like that on the books in the background, but they erased it.
Well, he actually, Ultimate Spider-Man, he's the one who curated the whole Ultimate line. If you look at the first issue of Ultimate Spider-Man, it says story by Bill Jemas and scripted by Brian Michael Bendis. Yeah. So he actually gets, right now, he gets royalties off Ultimate Spider-Man as co-creator of Ultimate Spider-Man, along with Bendis and Mark Bagley.
It was a great run, when it originally came out.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm thinking about looking back at some of the heroes. A lot of it was Rob Liefeld basically said if you had to listen to it, basically where he talks about the bonuses they get paid basically $3 million each to sign on to this Heroes Reborn project. And then the whole thing was Jim Lee was just trying to sell basically do what he did to Marvel, do what happened with DC only to Marvel. Pretty much, yeah. And it's really, really interesting. It's some of the stuff that he talks about. He showed clip art from a part 2 of Heroes Reborn that had Daredevil, Dan Fraga, and stuff like that. But Yeah, it's really crazy. I mean, like I was really unaware of like how it was basically not so much a creative endeavor to like brush off these characters like everybody thinks it was, and then it failed. It was basically like a bunch of millionaires and executives shifting around and trying to like take like spots of power from the comic industry. And how the comics themselves, Marvel comics, a lot of people think like, oh, the bankruptcy or the comics were shitty. That wasn't the case at all. The comics were actually all selling very well. It was the fact that I think it was Ron Perlman was his name, basically bought like all these companies and like and basically that's what bankrupt Marvel is like buying all these like trading cards and toy companies and like Panini bread like places like all these crazy things.
Kind of almost like what IDW is going through right now.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. But it's I mean, Rob Liefeld like, and he actually talks about cap tits at the point where he talks about that image, that famous image where like he has like the big ridiculous like huge torso.
The run of Fantastic Four, the Avengers, Iron Man, and Cap and Thor, they were great. But no disrespect to Rob Liefeld, but that book was hard to look at sometimes.
I see. I'm actually I'm planning on going through it again. He only did the first. He was only involved in the first 6 issues, and after that, Marvel announced they're going bankrupt, and he said, "I'm not renewing the deal," and made one of the employees go there and make sure he didn't hand in the 6th issue until he got a check, and then went through because he knew they were bankrupt and he didn't think the check was going to go through, and so because I guess halfway through they went filed for bankruptcy and they tried to like reduce their page rates, reduce their contract salary, and stuff like that. And Jim Lee took it only because he wanted to obviously take over Marvel. Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, he talked about the cap tits, and he basically said people throw that meme at me all the time, and he goes, listen, that image was not in any book. It was Marvel asked me to do a quick promotional piece. I banged one out, and he goes, and it doesn't like you can throw it in my face. I don't give a shit. Because I was just trying to make. Because I was purposely trying to make it seem like Cap was a big, larger than life character.
Yeah, well, especially when one of his buddies from his infantry unit or platoon, where he's like really small, and then Cap's like this, and his hand that showed up to him. Like, did this old man shrink or?
Well, he basically like he was supposed to be small. Like, it's weird. I still don't think Rob Liefeld's the greatest artist. I don't think his Heroes Were Born Captain America is a masterpiece by any means. But it's the way he explains it. It's kind of like he explains it. I don't remember reading it when I was a kid. I think I was more into the Fantastic Four one, more of a Jim Lee guy. But some of the things I'm gonna have to recheck are very reminiscent of what they end up doing with Captain America, both in the comics and the movies.
They even brought in some of the Wildstorm characters in a story I called World War III.
In the 13th issue with that, yeah.
In that storyline where they brought back Galactus for the first time in the Heroes Reborn universe, and they had to use time travel. I love that story arc. That story arc was freaking phenomenal.
I'm definitely gonna go back and at least the Captain America. I'm gonna revisit something like that because the way he made he described it, like I think I kind of wrote it off back then because I wasn't a big Rob Liefeld fan. I'm interested to see a lot of the comparisons. The story sounds very interesting the way he's describing it. Yeah. I don't know how good it is. I mean, as far as execution goes, but we'll check it out. And maybe I'll go over it for an episode of runs. I keep on saying I'll do more runs episodes, but it's kind of like I don't know. I'm trying to find my footing out during this whole COVID thing and trying to find time to do the content I want to do. But yeah, I mean, if you're not listening to Rob Liefeld's podcast, Rob's Observations, I mean, it's free on Spotify. You can listen to it. I highly recommend it. Whether you're a Rob Liefeld fan or not, if you're a fan of like inside baseball with like comics and like untold stories of Marvel and DC, definitely check it out. It's a good listen, especially if you're at work and like me, I drive around a lot. I do a lot of deliveries to hospitals, so it's a lot of time for me just kind of like it's either that or I'm talking to myself pretty much because I work the skeleton crew shift. But I love the podcast. I don't care for Rob Liefeld that much, but the podcast is definitely very entertaining.
Yeah, I've heard about it, but I'm like, he's probably just an angry, bitter old man. Not really old, but bitter man who he seems like he's really angry at Marvel and DC, and whether it's rational or not, or deserved or not, he just seems really angry and bitter.
I think that's why I thought. If you follow him on Twitter and stuff like that, it seems that way. But to him, it seems like it's kind of like all business. He's not afraid to hurt anybody's feelings. Like he's just like, this is just facts. Like and even during the podcast where it kind of paints Jim Lee to be this like diabolical like kind of guy, and he's like, listen, he goes, I'm not trying to paint Jim Lee in any sort of way. He goes, this is just what happened. Like, you know what I mean? And he's just, I don't know. He just doesn't give a fuck, and like he just I don't know. I mean, he definitely doesn't seem angry as I thought he would. He just seems like kind of like I don't know. He doesn't give a shit who's feeling yours, telling the truth, telling these stories. There's a lot of good stories. I'll tell you that.
I'll have to check it out.
But other than that, that's all I really got for this episode. As far as you got any news stories you want to talk about, any puck pieces?
No, I haven't really heard anything big. I know we kind of mentioned that about the Batman Beyond movie possibility, how Terry McGinnis is going to be a female.
Okay. You know what?
You mentioned that to me, I think.
Let's put a pin in that real quick. Let's end this episode right now, though. I forgot to mention it at the beginning of the episode only because I didn't really want to mention it during what we were talking about Boseman and all that. But remember to like and subscribe to the channel. If this is your first time checking out the channel, if you made it this far, why not go a little further and hit the subscribe button? And then also make sure you're hitting subscribe and check and make sure you are subscribed, because we've had a couple of people say that they were subscribed and they haven't seen any of our videos on the feed. YouTube's a little shady with that kind of thing.
Help us get to 100 subscribers. We're at 57 right now, fellas.
Yeah. Make sure you hit the like button and hit the thumb down button if you don't. If you want to hate watch. That's your prerogative.
If you want me to rip into how I don't like Batman now, I can do that for you guys because I love you. I think
we're gonna do a little bonus episode. I think after this, we're gonna a really quick recording of a bonus episode. But I think that's gonna do it for this episode. Again, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you later.